Um, right, let's dive into it. So, Herman, good to catch up. Obviously, it's been about 10 weeks, and you've been in our program. Now I can remember our first call when we obviously first spoke. So I kind of wanted to ask you a few questions because there's probably going to be someone watching this in the similar situation that you were, right, when you first sort of reached out. So just a quick few questions, if you don't mind. But before we initially spoke, what were some of the struggles that you were dealing with before, yeah, we kind of met?
Yeah, Rob, I think it is definitely the shock and the stress of realizing that your health has deteriorated so quickly, and it's being pointed out by the blood pressure number.
Yeah,
And it comes from the lifestyle of just being working so much and being so stressed and
sure.
making bad choices with your time, or instead of exercising, you're doing that final few emails, and now you have this result. So it is really about priorities um, and lacking in that department, and needing a bit of accountability where somebody calls you out and say, hey, you haven't done your training today, mate. And that I feel was really the biggest issue.
Okay, and how was you kind of feeling before? Because I know you were going through a decline, right? Like, what were some of the things you were struggling with?
So when we got on our first call, I don't know if you can recall, I was
I
battling
can.
a flu with that lasted nearly a month that I just couldn't recover from. And that is why I went to the doctor, and that's why I got put on the blood pressure medication, because at that exam he said, okay, look, your blood pressure is completely out of
Yeah,
control. So physically, I think the issue was definitely, illness and the blood pressure, which makes you feel rubbish. But then also, just a little bit more emotional. But you have this low drive and energy. You just feel
yeah.
exhausted.
No, definitely. Yeah, I remember the call really well. Um, okay, now obviously move on been about 10 weeks now, isn't it? 10 weeks.
Yeah, so 10 weeks.
Since obviously we met, you've even traveled for a month, right? You for business and stuff. So
Correct.
that
Yeah.
obviously wasn't plain sailing, if you're a busy man. Um, now the blood pressure was high before. Now run me through how high it was before, what it is now, and what you kind of achieved.
So when I went to the doctor and he took it in the room, my number was 177 over under correction, but I think it was 106, but it was very close to 110. So
Wow.
extremely high. He was contemplating sending me to the ER, and so very, very severe. And at the moment, we immediately went in onto medication, and
Yeah.
I have to say that's come down significantly.
So it's 170 before. And what is it now? You sent me a screenshot. What
So
is it?
yeah, I would say average for a week is 125 over 84. If I average
Beautiful.
it over the last 2 weeks, the number will be 125 over 84 on no medication.
Wow. No, oh, no medication now.
No medication, nothing.
So you
I
went
first,
from 170 to one medication, 10 weeks later, 125 on average, no medication.
correct, yeah. I
Wow.
When I started seeing the numbers drop consistently, I started halving the dose, and I was on that for a while, just drinking half the dose.
Yeah.
And then, the last nearly 3 weeks, about 2.5 weeks, I've left it out
Completely.
completely. The
Okay.
numbers that,
Wow.
that you were talking about now is on no medication.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And how do you feel? Do you feel cognitively better, energetic, less sluggishness?
No, absolutely. Now it's the chicken egg thing. Was it the medication making it feel like that?
You never know, right?
But there's definitely some side effects, and I finally decided to drop it because it wasn't making me feel great. But yes, before that, obviously, I think you don't actually realize how bad you feel. until you feel
Mm.
better.
Yeah, no,
That's truly,
definitely.
it's like your suspension on your car wearing out slowly, and you get used to it. And then when you put a new set of shocks in, you suddenly realize, wait a bit, this was terrible. And
Yeah,
that's how I can describe it, So
yeah, because you don't know what you don't know, do you? When you sort of just
you
deal with
don't
stuff,
know. Yeah.
you don't know.
It's slow. It's a slow deterioration over maybe, I tracked it back to just after COVID when before that, I was really in good shape. And 2020 wasn't the greatest of years for us, and we slowly, you could see some bad habits creeping in there,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and so it's really quite a while that it's slowly deteriorating, and now, 10 weeks later, you you feel so much better, but it's a bit of a surprise if I can put it that way.
yeah, definitely. And for someone who's watching this, Herman, what would you say to someone who's maybe sitting on the fence about, taking the leaps to get help from someone?
Well, I've in my family, I've dealt with a few severe issues. My own daughter passed away from cancer. My father passed away from Parkinson's very recently. And when you get a warning, like a huge blood pressure number, heed the warning. Don't wait until it turns to something super severe, like a stroke or a heart attack or cancer or whatever. That to deal with that takes much more than turning it around in 90 days.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, 90 days might seem a little bit longer for some people, and that first 2 weeks you you're hungry and you're grumpy and and you're tired from the exercise, but then it starts getting better and better and better, and then 90 days in that's not spent in a cancer ward or recovering in ER from a stroke or something is nothing. So
Be a good return, right? I guess. Yeah.
heed the warning, don't let it get to something significant that you potentially couldn't recover from.
Mm. No, that's really, really extreme wise words. And this is just the start for you, right? It's only 10 weeks. Like you've honestly not scratched the surface. I'm going to give you some extra advice and moving forward, I'm not just going to sort of let you go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the future and yeah, getting even further ahead, Herman. But really appreciate you sharing this. I really appreciate you for obviously reaching out to me and us speaking. I didn't know that personal story, by the way. That's really touching. So yeah, I see that was your driving force, and it's obviously worked out tremendously well for you. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
but I appreciate it, Herman.
no problem. And
Take
yeah,
care.
Rob,